So the best character in this movie, Kenneth Branagh's fucking mustache.
You know, there is something about that tangle of strangers, pressed together for days with nothing in common but the need to go from one place to another and never see each other again.
So I just got back from seeing Murder on the Orient Express, a film that really wasn't on my radar at all. A friend sent me the trailer a while back and I was like, oh, okay, it looks interesting. And it's just kind of been floating around my movie space ever since, and I was like, I'm gonna go see it. And I saw it, and I had some fun with it. It's not. I feel like I would have loved this movie if the ending wasn't so fucking terrible, and I will talk about the ending at some point. So let's get into the acting first. Star-studded all-star cast. For the most part, we got. Let me see if I can name everyone. We got Josh Gad, we got Penelope Cruz, we got Willem Dafoe, we got Kenneth Branagh, we got Daisy Ridley, Michelle Pfeiffer, Catwoman, Johnny Depp. Who else? There's somebody else I'm fucking forgetting. I think that's everyone. If not, I'll put a big text over my face that says I'm a loser. But all the acting was actually really good, and Kenneth Branagh, really, I love Kenneth Branagh, not only acting but directing. He also directed this film, just mostly because he's one of those directors that just has so much passion behind the filmmaking. You know, in this movie you see, you know, one shots and long takes, and there was one like overhead one shot that I thought was really fucking cool. It kind of reminded me like a board game almost. I don't know if anybody else thought of that, but I did because I'm weird. And like you could tell he was having the fucking time of his life in this movie. He was the best character in this fucking movie, next to his mustache. I mean, look at that. It's in a category of its own. Daisy Ridley's in it. This is the first time I've seen her outside of Star Wars. I haven't seen her in anything but Star Wars, and she did a pretty good job. She's not in it a whole lot. She's not like a main character necessarily. Nobody in here is really a main character. It's kind of Kenneth Branagh is the main character, and then a bunch of strong supporting roles. Because everyone else is kind of, they show up and they're in it, but they're not main characters necessarily. Props to Josh Gad. He's usually, at least in the past few things he's done, he's always played like the dumb idiot. And this, he actually does a damn good job in this. And he's a good actor. I've seen him in stuff where he is an actual good actor, and he's acting, and he's not being a big, dumb, fat idiot. And this is one of them, and he did a great job. Also, Johnny Depp. I have kind of a reputation with my friends that I don't like Johnny Depp, whatever. I like Johnny Depp. I just don't like him when he's Jack Sparrow and fucking everything. That needs to stop. In this, he was great. He was great in this. Michelle Pfeiffer was great in this. It's weird seeing her now because I haven't seen her in anything for the, you know, since she did Batman Returns. So she went from hot, young Michelle Pfeiffer to now she's like old, still kind of hot, but in like a creepy way, Michelle Pfeiffer. Penelope Cruz was also in this movie for some reason. She had like 2 scenes. Like, you could have just got anybody. But if you can get Penelope Cruz, get Penelope Cruz. Willem Dafoe did a great job. He actually kind of played 2 characters in a way. I don't want to say too much, but he actually played multiple characters in a way. That's, I kind of just spoiled it, but whatever. Figure it out once you watch the movie. And there's some newcomers. I don't really feel like looking up their names because I'm lazy. There's this dude who looks like Jason Clarke, like a kind of skinnier Jason Clarke. And then there's Black Doctor Man. And they were both good. The dude who looked like skinny Jason Clarke, I could just tell was having so much fun in this role and making this movie. And I just love movies where you can see the talent, you can see the actors and the filmmakers just having a blast making it. And this was one of those films, and honestly, I appreciate that a lot. One of the few cons I have about this film is that it kind of takes itself a little bit too seriously. It's not super cartoony, which from the first scene, it kind of seemed like this was going to be like a fun, cartoony, maybe like homage to like whodunit type films and literature and stuff. And it kind of is that for a little bit. But then the tone changes right after the person gets murdered, and it gets really serious. And I know it's a murder and it's a serious thing, but I would like some cartoony murder, alright? I would like a cartoony movie. You got Kenneth Branagh with his cartoony mustache. You got everyone kind of dressing up in the, you know, 30s period clothes. Like, just make it a little cartoony. It definitely would have been a lot more fun. Also, I also wish this movie was more of a bottle story. If you don't know what a bottle story is, it's kind of where a story takes place in one spot and they never leave that one spot. I like movies like that, like Buried, Lock, Hateful Eight is kind of like that. And I thought that's what this kind of was. I mean, like, it starts with Hercule Clouseau, whatever his name is, the detective's name, Hercule something. It starts with him in, like, I think India or Egypt, solving a case, and it kind of establishes who he is and that he's a good detective and that he's a little OCD, he's a little nutty, he's a little weird, and that's fine. But once they got on the train, I was kind of expecting it to just be on the train and not really show the outside of the train, because they do show the outside of the train multiple times and they do leave the train multiple times, and that kind of, I don't know, it just didn't feel right. It would have been better if it was just entirely in this train, in this small little, like, cramped fucking train. For me anyway, that would have been better, because they show outside shots of the train on the tracks moving, and it's CGI for some reason, and it looks terrible. It looks terrible, and you're probably like, well, how are they gonna show a train moving on the tracks? I don't know, miniatures, or just don't do it. Remember miniatures? I do. But yeah, the CG also isn't very great in this movie. There were multiple times where I'm like, that's a green screen, that's a fake train. Like, if you're making a movie in 2017 and your effects are worse than the Polar Express, like, that's a sign. And again, the effects would have worked like that if it kind of was a little cheesier, didn't really take itself so seriously, but it took itself really seriously. They kind of try to set up certain characters before they get on the train, like Daisy Ridley. She gets a little bit of setup. For some reason, we didn't really need it at all, because it would have been kind of cool if we just got on this train and we didn't know any of these people. Hercule didn't know any of these people, and then a murder happens and he's got to, you know, figure out all their personalities and who they are and whatever. But they they give little backstories to these characters, but again, not all of them. So it feels a little odd that they would do that with some. Like, there's this Persian guy, Russian man, who just, like, karate kicks someone. Literally, he does like a Jean-Claude Van Damme, like, triple kick in the air, and he kicks someone for some reason. I kind of zoned out at that point. We get a little bit of backstory about him, that he's kind of hot-tempered and he's violent. We get a little bit about Josh Gad, like a tiny bit. We get a little bit about Daisy Ridley, and it's just like, it would have been a lot better if, again, we just jumped into it, didn't know anything about these characters, so then they're all they all seem like suspects, and we're kind of along for the ride, being like, all right, who could it be? Let's see. You look suspicious. You're weird. At first, on the train, you see someone with a gun, and I was like, okay, they're the murderer. But then they're not, and I was like, okay, that's kind of cool, because that could have just been obvious and completely, like, pointless and whatever, and that's kind of what I thought they were gonna do. I was like, are they really gonna be this obvious with it? But they're not. The ending is far worse. And again, going back to the filmmaking, Kenneth Branagh really knows how to, you know, make interesting shots, and, you know, he knows how to make this setting, this cramped little train car, like, look interesting. Like, visually, it's not the most beautiful goddamn movie I've ever seen, but it definitely has some interesting camera angles and, you know, long takes and just kind of visual stuff to keep you into the film. There are sections of this film in black and white. When they have flashbacks, there's a couple flashbacks throughout that are in black and white, and they're all grainy. And I was like, this looks gorgeous. Like, those shots look beautiful. Why wasn't this entire movie in black and white? That would have definitely helped with the feel, because it does take place in the 30s, and because it is kind of a detective, you know, type of story, that would have helped. And it looked gorgeous. There was one shot of Johnny Depp just, like, sitting in like a train car, just, like, thinking about something, and I was like, that is a gorgeous shot. Like, that is amazing. It wasn't amazing, but it was a good looking shot. Now let's get into spoilers. There's really only one, well, I guess there's a couple spoilers that I'll talk about. So if you haven't seen it, leave, or if you just don't care, stay, or if you've seen it, stay. I don't really care. So the ending, the big twist was this is, I almost kind of wanted to laugh out loud at this twist, because it's not even really a twist. It's just it kind of comes out of nowhere, and you're just like, what? Okay. It makes the whole movie seem completely and utterly fucking pointless. Basically, everybody did it. Everybody on the train except Hercule and the train conductor, Jason Clark murdered Johnny Depp, which that was actually kind of cool. I knew Johnny Depp wasn't gonna be in it long just because he wasn't like in the trailers much, but I didn't think he would be the one that they murdered, which that was kind of interesting, which actually kind of sucked because I like Johnny Depp in this movie and I wanted to see more of him. But yeah, that was kind of interesting that they killed Johnny Depp, but it was all of them. So it's like the whole time you're along with Hercule trying to figure out who it is, you're listening in on the interviews and stuff, you're piecing things together along with Hercule, you're kind of, you know, along for the ride. Then it's just like, oh, y'all did it. Okay. It's just like, this whole fucking thing was pointless. And I think Michelle Pfeiffer just stands up and says, like, yeah, we all did it. Like, we're all guilty. I think. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Which is lame. It's fucking lame, man. And throughout the movie, there's a couple times where you're actually like, I think that guy did it. Well, this guy's kind of suspicious now. I think this guy kind of did it. So you're kind of, it does a good job of making you think these people did it, but they all did it. So none of it fucking matters. This is kind of a 10 Cloverfield Lane situation where if you shut the movie off, like 10 minutes before it ends, it's a great movie because the ending just ruins the fucking movie. The whole like marketing stuff is like, oh, there's a twist you're never gonna believe and blah, blah, blah. I was like, maybe Hercule fucking did it. Like maybe Hercule did it, or Jason Clark, or, you know, somebody we wouldn't necessarily expect. But since we're all kind of expecting everyone, because they're all a little sketchy, when the twist happens, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. They're all a little sketchy. So it doesn't make any fucking sense. And it kind of sets up for a sequel at the end a little bit. I don't know if there's a second book, but if you're gonna do a second one, don't make the ending shit, because I'm not gonna see it. But I'd like to see more of Hercule Clouseau, whatever the fuck his name was. I'm mixing two different detectives, but whatever. I would like to see more of Hercule, because he was a really fun character. I actually enjoyed his character, and I'm glad he was the main character, because he was really fun. So I don't have a lot to say about Murder on the Orient Express. I didn't hate it. I thought it was a fine film. I definitely enjoyed it a little bit more than Thor Ragnarok. I know that's crazy to some people when I say that, but it's a better movie. It's a much better film. Except for the ending. The ending is poo-poo. But yeah, it's a good movie. I would definitely recommend seeing it. I wouldn't rush out and go see it. I wouldn't buy it on Blu-ray necessarily, but I'm not disappointed that I saw the film. I'm not upset that I had to pay to go see this movie. I had fun. You know, it was a fun film. I was along for the ride, and then the ending just fucking ruined everything. So it's really just it's a decent film with a terrible ending. That's what it is.
And who are you?
My name is Hercule Poirot, and I am probably the greatest detective in the world.
Shirt change. That's weird.